San Francisco, California is known for many things. It was the heart of the gold rush, the home of the stunning and iconic Golden Gate Bridge, Alcatraz Island, Pier 39, Fisherman's Wharf, and so much more. Although it has its incredible architecture and so many endless things to do, it also has a dark past. In the late 1960s, it was terrorized by the Zodiac Killer, and around that same exact time frame, the Doodler struck. The Doodler is a widely unknown serial killer who was overshadowed by a combination of the Zodiac killings as well as the homophobia at the time, because the Doodler only killed people who were a part of the LGBT community. To this day, though, we do not know the identity of the Doodler, and he has essentially gotten away with these crimes. Every year in San Francisco, there's an average of 56 homicides, and to this day, there are over 1,000 missing persons cases. The case we're going to talk about today is one of those. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Crime with Kylie podcast. I am aware that this episode is well overdue, and I am so sorry. I've been feeling sick, which if you hear any nasaliness in my voice, that is why. As you just heard, this case is taking place in San Francisco, California. And it has been a case that's been close to my heart for many years that I think about quite often. Believe it or not, I started making true crime videos back in 2015, 2016, and this was one of the very first cases that I ever covered. I have researched this one inside and out, but I'm hopeful that covering it on the podcast and exposing it to all of you will hopefully lead to some answers. You see, the backbone of this case is that a single mother was trying her best to provide for herself and her young daughter. She wanted to give her daughter the world and was doing everything in her power to do so. But just as she was about to have a breakthrough, just as she was about to find a place to live with her daughter, tragedy struck. The mother was murdered and her daughter has never been seen again. But one of the most sickening parts of this case is that we have a pretty good idea about who has Arianna or who had her. And with how everything seems to be linked, we have a pretty good idea as to who killed the mother. This is the case of Nicole and Arianna Fitts. We're going to go back to 2016 to when this all started. Nicole Fitts was 32 years old and she had struggled with poverty for most of her life. She was a single mother who had 2 daughters. There was Arianna, who was 2 years old, and then she had an older daughter. But due to Nicole's financial struggles, her older daughter went to go live with her father in Southern California. Arianna stayed with her mother Nicole as Nicole tried to make a life for herself and Arianna. But prices in the Bay Area were and still are very high. So Nicole would go from staying with relatives to staying on friends' couches, and at one point even ended up in a homeless shelter with Arianna. And it was at this homeless shelter that she met a woman. This woman was named Lemasani Briggs. And she was a self-proclaimed street pastor who was initially very kind to Nicole and Arianna. She even invited Nicole and Arianna to live with her. So for a period of time, that is what they did. Now, Lemasani Briggs would watch Arianna while Nicole was out working, trying to make enough money for them to get their own place. However, Nicole quickly noticed that Lemasani turned abusive and controlling. She would often go through Nicole's things while she was away, and Nicole started noticing money being missing. She started noticing that her diary and her things were being sorted through. It was all just very invasive. So after living there for a very short amount of time, Nicole then took Arianna to Santa Cruz. That is where Nicole's sister lived, and she lived with her for a little bit. However, she couldn't stay for long because the commute was just too much. You see, the drive from Santa Cruz to San Francisco, California is about an hour and 30-minute drive. And Nicole didn't have a car, so she was stuck taking trains, buses, and other forms of city transit. This would sometimes make the commute 2 to 3 hours. And Nicole almost worked every single day, so she was making this commute daily. She was exhausted and she barely had any time with Arianna. So Nicole made the decision to move out of her sister's house and leave Arianna with some babysitters. But she met these babysitters through Lemasani Briggs. They were her nieces. One of their names is Helena Hearne. Helena and her husband lived in Oakland, California, which is just across the Golden Gate Bridge from San Francisco. It is a very short commute. And I believe they lived on Castro Street. Nicole was asked, though, by family members and friends if she thought that this was truly a good idea. However, Nicole insisted that Lemasani and Helena did not have a good relationship and that they didn't really have a relationship. And I'm not exactly sure how that makes sense because, as I previously mentioned, it was Lemasani Briggs who introduced Nicole to Helena. And another thing about Helena is that she was actually convicted of a murder in 2001, so 15 years prior, and then spent 6 years in prison because of it. She had shot one of her children's dads. So there's that. And by the time it was 2016, Helena had actually been married, so instead of Helena Hearne, her last name changed to Martin. And her husband, Devin, were living together. So around March of 2016 is when Arianna went to go live with them for around a month. Nicole was then living on a coworker's couch in San Francisco near her job at the Best Buy on Harrison Street. Nicole worked very long hours, but she always kept her daughter in mind and would send her daughter little gifts. These would be things like teddy bears or hair bows, etc. And at this time, Arianna was nearing 3 years old. After a month, so by April of 2016, Nicole's coworker actually told her some very exciting news. They were inviting Nicole and Arianna to live with them in San Francisco. This would mean that Arianna and Nicole would no longer be separated and that Nicole could finally have her daughter. And Nicole could not wait for this. She was gathering different items for Arianna, such as a crib and different little furniture for her room. But when Nicole called Helena to get her daughter back, that is where things took a dark turn. Helena and Devin were refusing to give Arianna back, and at one point they allegedly said that they did not have her. So for the next few days, Nicole was extremely stressed. She kept calling them, texting them, and just asking to please get her daughter back. Now, Nicole's roommate and coworker who was witnessing all of this told Nicole to get the police involved. But when April 1st of 2016 rolled around, Nicole figured that she wouldn't have to. That day of April 1st, she worked her normal shift at the Best Buy, then she went to the mall with a friend. After that, she went to a Pizza Hut and she withdrew some cash. Later that evening, she then returned to the apartment that her and her roommate shared. After Nicole had gotten settled into bed, she then got a phone call around 9:00 p.m. This phone call was allegedly from the babysitter. And at this point, this could have been any of three people. It could have been Devin Martin, who was Helena Hearne / Helena Martin's husband, or it could have been one of Lesamani Briggs' other nieces, Siolo Hearne. Although there's not much known about Siolo, she was also allegedly with Arianna a lot. So anyways, the person on the other end of this call told Nicole that they wanted to meet so that way she could have Arianna. And of course, Nicole was beyond excited about this. She put on her Best Buy shirt and then she went to go meet them at a BJ's restaurant. After Nicole got onto one of the city's buses a little after 9:00 p.m., she was never seen again. Instead, later that evening, Nicole's Facebook status updated. It said that she was spending time with her 3-year-old and needed a break. But break was spelled B-R-A-K-E instead of B-R-E-A-K. This was not like Nicole. Also, Nicole did not have a 3-year-old. Arianna was still 2.5, and Nicole would refer to her as being 2. Family members and friends thought that this was odd. Then her roommate received a text. This text was from Nicole and said that she was heading to Fresno to see a friend. This friend's name was allegedly Sam. However, the roommate had never heard of a Sam, and if anyone had heard of a Sam, it would have been her. None of Nicole's family members knew of a Sam, and how would she even get to Fresno? Nicole did not have a car. These were all major red flags, and on April 5th of 2016, Nicole's family came into San Francisco to report her as missing. However, San Francisco PD also quickly realized that not only Nicole was missing, but so was her 2-year-old daughter. None of Nicole's family members had seen Arianna since February of 2016. Police quickly headed out to Oakland. They went to the home of Helena and Devin Martin. All of them had very conflicting statements about Arianna, but Arianna was not in the home. Despite their conflicting statements and lack of having Arianna, none of them were arrested. Then 3 days later, on April 8th of 2016, Nicole's body was discovered in McLaurin Park. She was in a shallow grave by a playground just covered by plywood with a very strange symbol on it. To this day, it is unknown if that symbol holds any significance. Sadly, that is about the extent of what we know. However, in 2022, a $250,000 reward was offered to anyone who has information leading to Arianna being found. Also, missing person signs have now been put up in Nevada. This was because shortly after Nicole was found murdered, Arianna's babysitters moved to Nevada. If anyone knows where she is or what happened to Nicole, it is them. I don't know how they've gotten away this long just saying that, yeah, one day they had Arianna and the next they didn't. They didn't even have a good lie to explain what happened to her. Arianna Fitts was born in 2013, so today she would be 11 years old. Her mother, Nicole Fitts, loved her more than anything, and she wanted her back more than anything. For 6 weeks, Nicole tried to get Arianna back from the babysitters. For 6 weeks, they denied her. Nicole did not abandon her daughter, and she left that night of April 1st of 2016 to try to get her back. It's heartbreaking that there wasn't enough evidence to arrest the 3 babysitters, or at least to question them more, follow them to Vegas, and see if Arianna is anywhere with them. I don't know what they did to Arianna or where she is today, but I do hope that she knows that her mother loved her. I know 2 is very young, 2.5 is very young. There's a possibility that she does not remember her mom. But her true mom, Nicole, loved her and would not have left her and abandoned her. With this case, there are several theories, and obviously theories are just what spectators, you and I, have come up with over the years as to possibilities of what could have happened. There's the theory that Helena and her husband Devin wanted a child. Maybe even though Helena had a few of her own, she wanted another one. And maybe they wanted to keep Arianna and raise her as their own. That, however, in my opinion, doesn't make a lot of sense and is a little too wholesome. After all, when the police went to their home, wouldn't they have found Arianna or any sign of her? Then there's the theory that they sold Arianna. And I hate to think about this theory, but personally I think that it sounds plausible that on the more hopeful side of things, a couple wanted a baby and couldn't have one, and they had one that they thought they could sell to them. Underground adoptions sadly are a thing, and that could have happened. On the darker side of that same coin, she could have been sold for trafficking purposes. San Francisco and Oakland is a hotspot, sadly, for human trafficking and child trafficking in particular. It's definitely something that's happened before there. Or maybe Lesamani Briggs and Helena and Siolo Hearne were all closer than what they told Nicole. Maybe there was some cult that they were all involved with. But truly, who knows? Someone out there does. Someone out there has had to seen Arianna. She's 11 years old. She has beautiful brown eyes. She's probably going to grow up and look like her mom. And her mom, Nicole Fitts, was gorgeous. I'll have all of Arianna's age-progressed images on the screen, so if you guys, by any chance, see Arianna or know people who might have seen Arianna, you can pass those along. Thank you guys so much for listening to the case, and I will see you guys next time.